Spiritual intuition. First of all, I'll take up why we do not use the phrase spiritual thought or spiritual instinct, and rather we more commonly talk of intuition as spiritual. It is because intuition comes from a place that is deeply hidden. It comes from a place that is deeply hidden and is yet very much within the superstructure of the mind. It is deeply hidden from the conscious mind. That does not mean that it is beyond the mind. The place where intuition comes from is hidden from the reach of the conscious mind. That does not mean that intuition comes from beyond the mind. Intuition comes from a place that is deep within the mind. But because we are shallow and egoistic people, so we identify a lot with the conscious mind. We identify a lot with our thoughts. And thoughts are in the domain of the conscious mind. So we think of reality of the world as that which is presented to us by our consciousness. We are identified with consciousness. If something is coming to us that the conscious mind cannot make sense of, cannot trace the origin of, then it finds it comfortable to declare that the thing is coming from a point beyond the mind. That is why people talk so much of intuition. So-called spiritual literature even talks of the voice of the Atma as intuition. No. Intuition is you, the ego, and to believe in intuition as beyond the ego is to glorify and godify the ego. Are you getting it? See, it's like this. My eyes cannot look at the back of my head. Can they? They cannot. And I say that the world is only that which my eyes can look at. So I look at this way, I look this way, I look this way, I turn around and look here and there. And all that I can see is the world. But my eyes can never look at the back of my head. So what do I declare? I declare that the back of my head is beyond this world. And if the back of my head is beyond this world, then the back of my head is God. So what have I really done? I have termed one part of my little self as God. This is huge ego, to believe in intuition as being beyond yourself. And there is so much of literature, spiritual literature, motivational literature, self-help, that keeps on telling you, please follow your intuition, please listen to the voice of your heart, the intuitive voice. All that is fantastic nonsense. Intuition is nothing but the back of your own head. It is just as much skull and flesh and hair as is the rest of your body. What do you have here? Bone and flesh and hair. That is available even in your knees and thighs and all other places. But look at the arrogance contained in talking of intuition as metaphysical. My eyes will be the judge. The world is that which my eyes can look at, and God is that which my eyes cannot look at. In either situation, the judge is the eye. Goodness. What is the definition of the world? That which the eye can look at. And what is the definition of God? That which the eye cannot look at. The eye cannot look at the back of my head, so the back of my head is God. That's a great way of bringing God down to the level of the back of your head. And you will find people indulging in this kind of rubbish. I had a premonition. I had a gut feel. As if your gut feel has a sanctity or sacredness above your thoughts. In fact, your thoughts can have a certain purity because they are available to the light of consciousness. But intuition or gut feel or premonition is likely to be even closer to the deep I tendency. In many ways, thoughts are more trustworthy than intuition. Intuition is your primitive I instinct, deeply conditioned, extremely conditioned. Are you getting it? But yes, in certain matters, intuition is useful. How? The intuition is animalistic because it is coming from your animal past. So it has a lot of knowledge related to your animal self. The depths of your mind have a lot of knowledge related to your animal self. That knowledge is not available to consciousness. So for example, your animal self knows the meaning of a particular kind of glance. So you look at somebody's face and his glance, and something in your animal past reminds you the meaning of that glance. The meaning of that glance is that that person is now going to pounce upon you. Consciousness will not be able to access that knowledge. Intuition knows that. But there is nothing spiritual about this knowledge. This knowledge is useful, still within the domain of animal existence. It is not spiritual knowledge. So I denounce intuition when intuition gets connected to spirituality. But intuition has a certain use in everyday living. In everyday living, yes. If you know how to harness intuition, you will get some benefit. Are you getting it? Now, I come to what is a spiritual activity of the mind. Having said that per se intuition has nothing spiritual about it, I am now saying that thought can be spiritual, imagination can be spiritual, intuition can be spiritual. All the possible activities of mind can be spiritual. Because it is not the activity that is spiritual or unspiritual, it is the point where the activity is coming from. If you are leading a right life, if you are committed to the truth and humble and upright, then your thoughts are in the shadow of the spirit, then your thoughts are under the umbrella of the spirit. You could even say that your thoughts are a protege of the spirit. So your thoughts can now be called as spiritual thoughts, in the sense that they belong to the spirit. So they are being called as, they are not the spirit, but they are devoted to the spirit. They belong to the spirit. So now your thoughts can be called as spiritual thoughts. If your thoughts are arising from the spiritual center, then they can be called as spiritual thoughts. Similarly, if your imagination is arising from a spiritual center, it can even be called as spiritual imagination. That does not mean that there is anything spiritual about imagination as such. No, not at all. No imagination is spiritual. Yet there can be spiritual imagination. Please understand this. When you say imagination is spiritual, then you are putting imagination first. If imagination comes first, then it is merely ego. It cannot be spiritual. But if the spirit comes first, then everything proceeding from the spirit has the fragrance of the spirit. Then there can be spiritual imagination. Are you getting it? Saint poets give us a flavor of spiritual imagination. Ram bulawa bhejiya diya kabira roye. This is spiritual imagination. Gagan mandal mein gau biyani. This is spiritual imagination. Is there really a cow giving birth in the sky? But Kabir is saying, Gagan mandal mein gau biyani. This is spiritual imagination. Imagination that is proceeding from a spiritual center. But imagination is not spiritual. The difference is subtle. You must appreciate. Similarly, there can be spiritual intuition. But intuition is not spiritual. Intuition is just something hidden in the deep recesses of the mind. Vast portions of the mind that are not available to the conscious. That which is stuffed there sometimes comes up as intuition. So there is nothing spiritual about intuition. But if you are leading a spiritual life, then your intuition would be spiritual. Full stop. What is knowing? If you have appreciated what I have said in response to your first question, that is called knowing. Being present to existence. Being present to the truth, that is knowing. Can the self ever know? If the self means the ego, the self can never know. And if the self means truth, then the truth does not need to know. Are there more than one self? There are infinite selves. If the self means the ego. And if the self means the truth, then there is not even one self.